My wife, 28, and I, 29, were married in the fall. We have been together now for 4 years. For me, it's all been very good. To this point, we had some ups and downs, but I really love her and we want to start a family soon and buy a house. When we started dating, it wasn't the cleanest of beginnings. She had a friend with benefits she was seeing and I wanted to be exclusive. She actually said no to me asking to be exclusive. It caused me to back away, but after a while we started dating again and she asked to be exclusive. Later on, I found out her friend with benefits was redeployed away, and it was only then when she sort of decided to be serious with me. It seemed like she chose having fun with him was more important than dating me. At the end of this, I just decided to let it go, even though it bothered me slightly. She was indecisive, but she was understanding about it all and did regret how it started. From my perspective, it also wasn't her fault because to my knowledge she was always honest about it, and I chose to be with her knowing the situation that happened. She only became exclusive when she knew she would be. The only reason I am giving this background is because this past weekend my wife was coming back from a business trip and I was using her iPad to play music, and I noticed she was texting this same friend with benefits. She had told me they do keep in contact occasionally and I was fine with it. My curiosity got the best of me and I read through their messages. Most of it was innocent, like wishing happy birthday, random texts that nobody replied to. But one exchange made me first of all feel betrayed and just sort of numb. A couple weeks after we got married, he congratulated her. She accepted, but he says, "So now you're off the market." Too bad, because I did imagine we would get one more chance together. She responded, "After all these years you still think about that?" He goes, "Yeah, often. I miss it." She goes, "I miss it too, but I'm married." He goes, "What do you miss most?" She changes the subject. I think she mostly shut it down. But what a punch to the stomach in a way. I feel like she didn't need to extend the conversation like that. I know she didn't expect me to read it, but still, it just seems like such a lose-lose for me. It's not enough to admit reading her texts over, but it does sting. It brings back the memories from when we first dated and her trouble getting past him. It seems like she still hasn't. There is stuff her roommate told me early on about them also that makes it all worse, but isn't that relevant and she doesn't know I know. Would it be worth bringing up with her that I saw this? Or there is no real win here and I should move on but keep an eye out? Not the idiot. You should be concerned. This guy is testing the waters with that interaction. He doesn't respect your marriage and is looking to see if his sexual needs can be fulfilled with your wife. So keeping a sporadic conversation going is a way to keep a foot in the door and find a weakness in her desire to remain faithful. Basically, when she wants fun, he will be there because he is already in the background waiting. Your wife is not innocent. She likes the idea that he still desires her, and it appears to be a big ego boost for her. She is playing with fire. Ego boosts can be addicting and she may want to play her luck when the temptation is too much. Wanting to keep in contact with him shows that she hasn't completely let that go either, and she likes knowing that she has that ace in her pocket. She is treating him like a backup plan. Every text is stringing him along with the possibility that he could get laid. She knows that is what he is after. Sit down with her. Tell her how you felt then and how you feel now. Do not let her gaslight you. She ends the friendship, or basically, your marriage is over. Why? Because if she refuses to give him up or attempts to hide their communications in the future, she is putting him before you and your resentment will only grow. You shouldn't be second when you are the husband. She should choose you above anyone. Now, for the next story. Am I the idiot for telling my wife that I don't think it is right to force our daughter to hang out with her cousin? My wife has 2 sisters and is close to both. Their mom died when they were young, so they bonded over the loss and became very close. We have 2 kids, Chris, male 16, and Kaylee, 13, female. My wife's older sister also has 2 kids, Owen, male 17, and Emma, 16, female. They live about 5 minutes from us and our kids attend the same school. They have always hung out as a group of 3. My Chris and Emma are a week apart in age and Owen is only a little over a year older, so they grew up together and used to call themselves triplets. They are still quite close. My wife's younger sister has a daughter, Gia, who is 3 months older than mine. The younger sister always made comments when our girls were babies about how she can't wait until they are the ages of the big kids, meaning Chris, Owen, and Emma, because they'll be just as close. The problem is that Kaylee doesn't like hanging out with Gia, and it's becoming more obvious as they get older that they are 2 different people. Kaylee likes soccer and video games. Gia isn't allowed to play video games and isn't interested in sports. Kaylee is a social butterfly and Gia is a homebody. All of this was manageable, but Gia also has some more immature interest. She still enjoys playing with dolls and engages in pretend play. For example, when Kaylee goes over their house to sleep over, she says Gia likes playing school, or mamas. Playing school means they set up all of the stuffed animals and pretend to teach them. Mamas are when they play with the baby dolls and pretend to be mamas. I have nothing against pretend play and think it's nice that Gia doesn't feel pressured to grow up too fast, but it's clear that Kaylee and her are on different wavelengths. Now that things are opening back up, Gia's mom said she can't wait to have Kaylee over. Kaylee said she doesn't want to sleep over Gia's. She said she'll still interact with Gia at family events but doesn't want to sleep over there anymore or go over to play. This upset my wife a lot. She said Kaylee doesn't get a say. Later that night I told my wife I sided with Kaylee. I don't think she should be forced to hang out with Gia. My wife flipped and said that I am an only child, so I will never understand her family values and how this isn't up for discussion. I told her that wasn't fair. Kaylee should get a say, and she said that you don't get a say when it comes to family. We argued for a while before I told her that we would be having this discussion later, and she didn't talk to me for the rest of the night. Was I the idiot? I haven't brought it up again but plan to unless I am totally in the wrong. Edit. I thought I made this clear but will say it again because of the comments I am getting. Kaylee is not interested in hanging out with Gia other than for full family events. For example, we normally have dinner with my wife's sisters and dad every Sunday. Kaylee is fine hanging out with Gia then but doesn't want to go beyond that. Additional info. Other than her immature interest, Gia is a normal 13-year-old girl. Edit. Gia does cry when she doesn't get her way, and that's another reason Kaylee is no longer enjoying playing with her cousin. I wouldn't say it's tantrum behavior. Her mom and my wife think it's just hormones and normal, but she locks herself in the bathroom until she pulls herself together. I should have mentioned that earlier, but my wife and her sisters think it's normal teen girl stuff. Edit. Sorry for so many edits. Just trying to paint a clearer picture. Last summer, Gia and Kaylee hung out about 4 to 5 days a week. Now, this was normal for Chris, Emma, and Owen when they were 12-13. I would say they were over more often than that and had sleepovers most nights. They have a lot of the same friends since they go to the same school and play some of the same sports. My wife and younger sister are trying to recreate this with Kaylee and Gia, but Kaylee doesn't want it. Again, she is okay with the weekly dinners but doesn't want the one-on-one playdates and sleepovers with Gia. I am getting a lot of heat over the word immature. All I meant by that is Kaylee, who stopped playing Mamas a long time ago, sees it as immature. If Kaylee suggests another game, then Gia cries and locks herself in the bathroom. To me that is childlike behavior, but I do not think any less of Gia because of this. I do not dislike her. I love her like she is my own blood. I am very sorry for hurting people with the use of the word immature. Update. I talked to my wife about everything and she agreed she overreacted. She said that after her mom died she felt like it was her job to hold the family together. She is the middle child, so she felt like she was the link between her two sisters. Their dad stressed to them how much they needed to stick together, and that is where the weekly family dinners started. It was a way to bring everyone together. When my wife got pregnant with our son Chris at the same time her older sister got pregnant with her daughter Emma, my wife said it felt like fate, especially since her older sister's son Owen would only be a little more than a year older than both kids. My wife said watching all three of them bond like they did made her proud because she knew it is what her mom would want. Even now the kids are close. My son slept over at their house last night. They play some school sports together, have classes together, share some friends, and sit at the same lunch table. When we found out we were having Kaylee only a few months after Gia was born, my wife and her sister imagined the girls growing up together the same way the older three did. For a while they did, but now that they are growing apart it has been hard on both my wife and her younger sister. When the older three were in middle school they hung out every day in the summer, but that was by choice and usually with a larger common friend group. I explained to my wife that this is different because we would be forcing Kaylee to miss out on time with her friends to spend with her cousin multiple times a week even though they have virtually nothing in common. My wife apologized to Kaylee and talked to her sister about giving the girls some time apart. We will still see them once a week for Sunday dinners, but we aren't going to force it. My wife's sister was upset because Kaylee is Gia's only friend but said she will just have to spend more time with Gia to make her feel special. My wife and I feel bad, but we want to make sure our daughter knows that she has the right to say no and have that be respected if she isn't comfortable with the situation even when it's family. You're the idiot. Family is family. Sometimes you have an annoying uncle or special needs niece, but that doesn't mean you have the right to cut people off. You are not better than them. You need to get off your high horse and join the real world, hoping for the sake of your daughter that you both learn. Not the idiot. I'm glad your wife is on the same page as you now, although I'd be wary of everyone jumping to Gia has autism or something else wrong with her. From what I've seen, I'm pretty sure your sister-in-law is responsible for all of Gia's behavior. Your sister-in-law doesn't want Gia growing up too fast, and Gia not having any friends. I wouldn't want to be friends with someone whose mother won't let them mature, and it sounds like your sister-in-law is super controlling with who interacts with Gia. Am I the idiot for buying my 5th property rather than help out my siblings? For context, even when I, male 44, was a child I was incredibly into owning property and designing houses. I work as an architect and am doing quite well for myself. Bought my first duplex here in Germany a long time ago where I rented out both parts. Then I own 2 houses in Italy and 1 in Spain. 2 of them are rented out as holiday homes while the last one I use for vacations and rent out a room to a friend of mine. So I have a lot of passive income at the moment, but only after a lot of time and money investments and refurbishing of these houses I rent in NYC at the moment as my job has made me move here temporarily. My brother, male 48, owns an apartment. He has a family with 2 kids while my wife and I are childless. They are currently looking to purchase a house that fits all of them nicely. While they have found their dream house, it's out of budget for them. Meanwhile, my wife and I are about to buy our 5th house, this time in France. It's going to be one of our largest purchases yet, significantly larger than anything else we have done. It's a great deal on the property, however, and ideally what my wife and I want to retire in. When having a family FaceTime with my siblings and parents, I brought it up. initially very happy for me. My brother mentioned how he needs a larger home for his family and how I should give up on this opportunity to give him money for his house and spend the rest on refurbishing their new home. I just laughed and said flat out no. Edit. Thought this was a joke. This was apparently the wrong move. My entire family turns against me and starts berating me. After 10 minutes of them taking turns telling me to buy my brother a house, I said I'd think about it and left. I am a bit of a pushover, so after talking to my wife we agreed we could wait and buy their house and rent it out to them at no profit. Apparently this was insulting to him, having his younger brother be his landlord, and my parents said I should just outright give him the money we have been saving. I told myself to piss off and started moving forward with the paperwork on our house in France. After talking to my friends, they said I should put family first and it's not like we are struggling for money. Now I am confused. Am I an idiot? Edit. This edit is super late, but I want to clarify my brother does have money for a 4-bedroom house. He isn't broke, just not enough money for his dream house. The dream house is approximately double as expensive. Update. My wife and I discussed and thought you guys deserved an update after the clarity I received from my initial post. It feels therapeutic for me. It's been a bit of a wild month since then. We took in a lot of your advice regarding the situation, but it ended up even more chaotic than I expected. Shortly after the post and when the pandemic in NY got worse and worse, I ended up back in Spain. After having a conversation with my friend and this post, I decided I had made the right choice. We are moving forward with the house in France currently. Furthermore, we are deciding to sell the 2 Italian homes. We realized we haven't been there ourselves in a long time and it was only being rented out. This decision was twofold. I couldn't get some of the remarks from the last post out of my head and we wanted some liquidity given the economy. We also decided to only list with local real estate companies. On to my brother, who turned out not to be telling us the whole truth. A week after the post, his wife calls me asking to reconsider. Turns out there was a reason, but my brother didn't want to tell me. So I told her, either he tells me himself or I won't even consider anything. A week later he ends up calling and tells me everything. It turns out he had developed a bit of a gambling problem the last 2 years and has taken a noticeable percent out of their savings gambling. Less than 40% but more than 15% according to him. The dream house was now a lot further out of reach than it was meant to be. Apparently he has been going to therapy for it for months, but the financial damage it did set them back far. My parents knew since the start, and I knew my brother was having marital problems a couple years ago, but I never asked why, as he and his wife were very secretive about details. Turns out this was the problem. Apparently my parents had told him to ask me but asked too much from me, so when he rebutted with smaller ask I would be more inclined to accept. Had an incredibly harsh conversation with my parents. They feel like I owe the family and it's more their money than mine since they raised me. That's a whole different problem. I told him about the post and he was mad at first but understood my position after reading through it. After a pretty difficult conversation with him, I offered the rent at cost, and once he has built up his savings, we will sell him the house minus any rent he has paid over the time it takes. Some people mentioned this rent to own. He happily accepted, and now it's today. Hopefully we can have a reunion after the pandemic is over and laugh about this. Edit. A lot of people are worried about the legalities. I am having my lawyer draft it up. Everything will be in writing. Not the idiot. It irritates me when parents say their kids owe them for raising them. Kids don't owe their parents anything for being raised. Parents chose to bring children into the world and they're obligated to provide for them.